Okay.
Good morning. Kim's in witness protection today. Hello, Val and Scott. How are you guys? Good, good. Okay, awesome.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. I love that. So I sent you the materials. We're going to go over this in 3 parts because I want to be able to, there's a lot in here to unpack, and I just want to make sure we can cover everything and have time to talk about that. So today we're just going to talk about how do we have successful phone prospecting and prospecting? And I don't think it's just limited to phone prospecting. I think the principles that we're going to go over apply to any kind of prospecting, wherever you're doing that, whether it's an open house or social media, or even just, the other day I got the oil changed in the car and I had my Remax hat on. And the kid who was checking me in said, "Oh, are you a realtor?" And I said, "Yeah, you want to buy a house?" And so it just rolled right off my tongue, Sandra. I didn't even have a second thought. Are you looking for a house? It turns out his dad works for the Remax office up here. So, but it was just things like that prospecting, we're always prospecting, right? We are always looking for connections in this industry. And so I think the principles, as I said, they kind of apply in general. So let's go ahead and get my PowerPoint going. All right. Slideshow, where are you here? There we go. All right. So as I said, this is going to be 3 parts. So we're going to talk about what is successful, how do we set ourselves up for success, then we're going to get into best practices, and then we're going to give you some advanced tools, so some scripts and dialogues, and diving into basically anything that you need to know to have success in doing prospecting. All right, so the objective for today, we want to build your confidence. I mean, myself included, and I've been doing this a long time. I just actually bought a lead yesterday that's is a FSBO, and I had hesitation calling. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I don't know what to say? And I teach a FSBO class, guys. Like I'm in the same boat as you are, right? And having just that moment of humanness where it's like, do I have the confidence to do this? Do I know what to say? And so we want to build your confidence so you can leverage prospecting as part of your lead gen strategy. And we should be prospecting every day. And when we see the peaks and valleys in realtors production throughout the year, it's because they prospect, then they stop, they get some deals in escrow, they're managing the deals, then they come back down here and go, crap, I have no more leads, and we prospect. And so it's very common to see these peaks and valleys throughout the year. And if we can consistently prospect, and even if it's just an hour a day, right? Once you get your pipeline going, Kim, it's just an hour a day that you need to spend prospecting, right? Then we want to understand the specific skills required to become an effective prospector, right? We can, I joke that even the messy script is better than no script at all, right? The messy prospecting is better than nothing at all. And so understanding how do we become better at that? I have a team that I coach out of, I think they're North Carolina, South Carolina. Their website generated over 600 leads since the beginning of the year, but they've only closed, they've spent 15,000, but they've only closed 26,000 GCI. I said, something's wrong. You have a conversion problem, right? You don't have a lead gen problem. You have a conversion problem. So you need to be scripting and dialoguing with your agents. What are they saying? Because they're obviously not saying the right thing to be able to convert that lead, right? And the follow-up, right, Scott? We know that an internet lead is 5 to 12 touches. So if you're only doing 1 or 2 touches, you're not doing enough. So we have to, as Burl Workman would say, as you call until they either buy or they tell you to die. Right? That's a long time. And no one's ever dead. Like I had a team that we went into their lead tracker and we found $50,000 of commission of leads that the team had marked as dead, but were not in fact dead. Those people went and bought a house with a different agent. So no one's ever dead unless they are actually in the ground, not breathing. No one's ever dead. Okay. And so life changes, things happen. If you would have told me this time last year that I'd be going through what I'm going through right now, I might not have been surprised actually now that I say that, but life changes, right? People move, things happens. We start our process and then we get sidetracked with something else, right? So no one's ever dead, right? Until they actually are dead. Okay. So knowing who do I need to call? What are the best practices? And then building your database for ongoing referrals. So that's what we're going to dive into between today and the next 2 sessions. So let's start with where to start with phone prospecting. So first thing, the 6 steps are understanding our mindset. We're going to dive into this a little bit more. Mindset is everything in this business. When you guys were popping on, I was just revisiting The Greatest Salesman in the World. And I've read this book, I don't know how many times in my life. And I'm like, I'm going to go back to this. It could be because not just good for my business, it's good for me as a human right now to have these 10 scrolls in my life. And so mindset is everything. If you haven't read this book, I know you probably can't see it real well, but it's The Greatest Salesman by Og Mandino. It's 10 scrolls. The concept, it'll take you about 2 hours to read the whole book. It's a fable. The concept is that you study one scroll every day for 30 days. So it'd take you 10 months to get through the whole book. We did this as a mastermind a few years ago within the company, and it was so remarkable, just the impact that it had on people. We did it 2 times, so we actually, we got done with it, we're like, we'll do it again. And so if you've listened to Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights, he talks about stumbling across this book and studying it for 2 years and just the impact it had on him. So mindset's everything. So if we don't start our day believing that abundance is around us, or that we can be of service to people, right, then that just sets our day wrong, right? And it's easy to get sucked into the news or the interest rates or whatever, right? So mindset's everything. So making sure you protect this at all times, right? To have strong, good mindset and good habits. Okay. So your thoughts matter. Dual purpose of the call. We're going to dive into that. Who do I call? Right? Y'all have heard me talk about top 50, right? So we need to have that 50 people that are evangelical about us. You also are getting the email from KV Core every day saying, hey, Sandra, here's 10 people, go call them, right? These are the people you should be calling. Okay. And what do I say? We're going to go over some scripts and dialogues as well. And then lastly is our systems and tools. How do I set myself up for success? So go ahead and take a second and read the slide for me. So I love the truth at the bottom there, right? Is that we don't progress because we put limits on ourselves as to excuses as to why we can't do something. And sure, there are some things that are definitely limitations, but there's also ways to overcome it, right? I met a guy several years ago. He's a speaker and an author. He was born with no legs and no arms, and he managed to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. And he writes about that, about how he did that, and he had a team around him. And you would think like, well, you can't do that. It's physically impossible because you have no arms and no legs. And yet he found a way to do it. And so it's so inspiring, because I think about the things that I tell myself I can't do, or that they're hard, or no one will like that, or I don't have the contacts, or I don't this, blah, 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 right? All those things that we tell ourselves. And here's this guy with no arms, no legs, summited one of the most challenging mountains in the whole world, right? I forget his name. I could picture him in my head. I got his book on my bookshelf. So you guys want to read it, text me and I'll give it to you, because I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Still picture him in my head, but I just can't remember his name. Anyway, so thoughts rule the world because they determine our feelings and our actions, right? How we think determine whether or not we're going to be happy, or we're going to be sad, or we're going to be pissed off, right? And so we have to take care of our thoughts so that we will have good actions. Okay. And the one here, we're influenced by the thinking of those we associate with. We are the sum of the 5 people we hang out with the most. Right. You guys have seen my Facebook banner I have right now, that life will tell you when it's ready, when it's time to level up. Okay, so maybe we need to level up. Maybe we need to hang out with some people that will make us, challenge us to be better, right? And to make us be a better person, better version of ourselves. And then I love that, if we are in the right space, we're doing the right energy, we're giving back, then it helps the whole world, right? And that's a good thing. You guys have heard me say this before, we have the coolest job because we get to help people with their primal need of shelter. And to me, that's amazing. We get to help with something that's so critical and so important. And then, babies are born, pets are adopted, all these wonderful things, memories are made, and we get to be a part of that. And to me, that's such a gift. It really is. We're getting paid to do it. That's an additional perk, right? All right, so your mindset. So self-talk. There's a great book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. It's an older book, so it's not going to be on Audible. Shad Helmstetter is the author. It's a really great book of just helping you check your mind of all the negative self-talk that we have. So your mindset. So the phone prospecting, Many are going to tell you no. Og Bandino says that for every no gets me that much closer to the yes, right? And so eating rejection for breakfast, right? That was one of Nate's buyer's agents. So that means I eat rejection for breakfast. Your mindset each day should be that you want to get those no's, right? Because the more no's we have, the closer we get to the person who's going to say yes. And then be grateful for the no, because again, it's helping you get closer to the yes. And this mindset will help you overcome your fear of being told no. And all real estate agents are salespeople, but real estate is a sales business. And then sales is a people business. So understanding people is part of the key to success. And so people don't want to necessarily be sold, right? So how do we come across to not have commission breath? One of our agents, she's really good at, everyone's her best friend. Complete strangers that she meets at an open house, by the time they're leaving, she's hugging them, because that's just her personality. And she gets into that, you're my new best friend, right? And my goal is I'm going to help you buy or sell a home. So if we could think about that with everybody we meet and be that open, and that's what makes her so successful, is she has that mindset that everyone's her best friend. So understanding seller's mindset can go a long way in preparing for the phone. So we have the buyer's mindset and the seller's mindset. So seller, not looking to sell. I just want to know the value of my property. I think we should add in here into the slide that I would love to sell, but I have a 3.25% interest rate. Right? Because that's a real, they've been talking about that on the news. If you read any real estate articles right now, they're saying that there's a huge, it's a clog in the pipe, because we got these sellers that would sell, but they won't. So you guys have heard us talk about the river real estate. So if you hear someone say that, don't say, I understand. You could say, I understand, but then you need to follow up, Scott, and say, what if I could show you a way that it would work and would make sense for you? I just bought a new car. Interest rate is ugly, right? But I'm sucking it up and doing it because I have to, I need to, right? So people still need to move. People still make decisions to do that, even if the interest rates are ugly. And so it's our job to talk to them, be able to talk to them intelligently. What if we could get you a buy down? Right? You guys, I'm not going to beat the horse on that, but don't let someone just say, yeah, I'd love to move, but I have this interest rate. Can I consult you a little bit? Okay. So looking to sell, I'm curious about what my property is worth. How long will it take to sell, the cost to sell it, and what is the agent willing to do to sell it? And again, don't ever talk commission on the phone, because the minute you give commission on the phone, conversation's over. Okay. If they ask you that, my comeback is, that's a great question, Sandra. I like to tailor make my commission packages based on your needs. And so it'd be unfair of me to give you that answer on the phone until I sit down with you and know what your needs are. And if I say tailor made or custom made, that makes them feel special, that they're going to get some kind of a special package, right? That is just specifically for them. Okay. Expireds, I want to sell my home and I'm really frustrated that it hasn't sold yet. FSBOs, I want to sell, but I'm motivated by saving money. We teach a FSBO class. I don't know. I think I just did it not that long ago. So it should be on the YouTube channel if you want to watch it. But the concept with the FSBO is you're not trying to get the listing. You're just trying to get your foot in the door and take a look at the house, so that you can start building rapport with them, right? So, because the FSBO, they're putting a big old red, sign in their yard that says, I hate realtors, but yet we want to go try to get them to list their house with us. So that's not the approach. I want to add you to my secret list of home buyers that I have buyers all the time. Let me add you to that list. Okay. And then farming. So I know why you're calling me, and I know and if you are reputable. Okay. So building that rapport in the neighborhood. We talked a little bit about this with video, is that video establishes a rapport with people, that it establishes it faster, right? Because they've watched your videos, they've interacted with you online, they feel like they trust you, Scott, before they've even met you. Okay. So again, we've talked a lot about video the last couple of weeks. All right. So thoughts matter. So in order to create a life of abundance, we got to retrain our brain. So let's just talk a little bit about what are some thoughts we might have around prospecting on the phone. Anybody got some just initial thoughts of like why you don't want to do it, or what might come up for you as a I can't?
I don't really like cold calling, but what I did Friday is I spent a couple hours calling everybody in my database from Atlanta, checking in on them and just being social and seeing how they're doing and checking in. And I figure that's a start. And one of them, because I know they have a small child, and I'm thinking eventually they're going to want to move out of their apartment. So I just need to keep talking to them. And I thought, if anything, I can at least get some referral business that way.
Sure. And you moved here. People move from Atlanta all the time to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, that's a great place to start. And it kind of warms it up, right? So that you're talking to people who already know you, like you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still have family from Oregon, that Washington and Oregon, that I nurtured those relationships early on, even though they didn't live here. They'll still reach out to me and ask me, hey, Auntie, we need it. We want to buy a house or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those relations, absolutely, right? And I just closed a deal. I just got a referral check for $2,400 from a referral that I sent to a friend of mine that moved to Jersey. I have another referral coming up from a client of mine that they're going to list their second home. So referral business is gravy. So I love
Yeah.
that. So that's a great
Yeah,
idea.
I've got
So
mostly people in my database from out of town, so I figure that's one place I really need to focus right now too.
yeah, absolutely. So what are some, I mean, I get not wanting to cold call. I get that. So what else? What are some, I mean, how do we rewrite that? How do we rewrite that thought for you? It's like cold calling, nobody wants to be sold, but can you come from a space of, I have a service to provide that could improve your life. Right. And so Augmandina, one of the scrolls says, I will greet this day with love in my heart. And so who can say no to my goods if he hears the love in my heart? Right. And so could we change your thinking of, I don't like to be cold called, to I have something that could help you. I could be of service to you. Right. What else?
Some of it is kind of, what are you going to say, but the more you do it, the more you realize it's not that hard. You know what I mean? I have an unusual one at the moment where I'm trying to get a house for somebody within our estate that wants to downsize. So I have to call all these people that, they know me a bit because I've done a lot of farming in here. But like yesterday, I had this conversation. It was as easy as anything. I'm like, this is not that hard.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. That's a great perspective. Scott, you got anything? You came off mute.
Cold calling is basically just like riding a bike. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Mhm.
Amen.
For
You know,
sure. Yeah.
for me, it's a new business, so I don't have the scripts down as well.
Mhm.
And I've got to find, figure out how to get expireds and all this other stuff that I don't quite know yet. So
Okay, cool. I love your attitude though. That's a great it's like a bicycle. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So yeah. And I think too, you got to think about, how bad do you want your goals? How bad do you need, to have that commission? And again, if we come from a space of love, service, right? It makes it way less scary. Okay. So just take some time and think
Sarah?
about, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry, interrupted. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that for me, when I think of internet leads, I actually think of them as warm calling, not cold calling, because they've already done an inquiry. They've already looked at something online.
Mhm.
So that takes that away, the fear from doing that. But my biggest hang up is the follow-up. Like,
Mm.
I've built, there's some kind of relationship with somebody, and now I'm nurturing them. And I don't know, I hesitate because I feel like I'm harassing them if I call them too often.
So let's change the script, right? Again, I'm coming from this place of service. If you know what they're looking for, the message could be, hey, there's a new property that came on the market. I was thinking about you. Would you like to schedule a time to see it? Or, send them something, an item of value. If they're a buyer, here's the ways, you need to qualify. If they're a seller, here's some staging tips. So have something of service that helps them to make their decision or helps them in the process. Now we're
Yeah.
now we're not bugging. We're giving something value.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So just take some time and think about, next time you go to do prospecting, what are those things that come up for you, right? That are triggers negative, and then rewrite it, right? Flip it into a positive. So, because everything that we feel, we can change into a positive. All right. So the dual purpose of the call. So your role and goal is to add value. I think I just said that, didn't I? What you can't control is what the buyers and sellers ultimately say or do. So, but good prospectors get mad. So they're mentally tough, right? They eat rejection for breakfast. They're absolutely committed. They know why they're doing this and what the outcome should be. And then they're detached from the outcome, right? So if they say no, we're not going to go lay in our bed and cry for the rest of the day. We move on, right? We move on to the next one, because one of the affirmations we say in momentum is, I live in a world of abundance. Okay. So the rationale behind the call is the same. Let's see if I'm a viable option for you. Are we a good fit? Can I help you get the results that you need to help you sell your home? Okay. And this applies to anybody, not just expireds, but just anybody thinking about selling their home. So who do we call first? We always want to have an active list of people to call. You guys have your KV core, right? We talk about top 50. And, you know, even if they aren't in your top 50, if it's somebody just in your sphere, you know, Val, I love that you did that, where you just started calling people from Atlanta, right? That's awesome. And it will work. I promise you, it will work. You're planting seeds. Okay. So past clients, your center of influence, which is your sphere of influence, top 50, just solds, right? If you're in an area and you know that you've got some phone numbers, or could you even, if let's say you don't have phone numbers and you just sold a property, could you door knock? You sold this property, right? You tell them, hey, good time to meet your new neighbor. Jim and Sally just closed. And oh, by the way, I sold this house for $450,000. So touch, introducing the neighbor, educating them about property values. All right. Because sometimes, unless you're paying for a service, there's a company called RedX that you guys can buy phone numbers from. It's super cheap, but don't go buy it unless you're going to actually cold call, because cold calling isn't for everybody. So even just canvassing with a flyer that says, hey, I sold this house, meet your new neighbor, right? If you don't feel comfortable actually knocking on the door, right? Just listed, same thing. If you list a property in an area, canvas, shout it from the rooftops, let people know, send it out to your KV core. Nate just did that the other day. I don't know if you guys got it. So we need to sell this home, and he pushed it out to his database, right? So you never know who in your database is going to maybe looking, right? For sell by owners, I don't know how I got on this list, you guys, but somehow I'm getting these text messages from this company called Soft something, and they send me text saying for $50 you can buy this lead. I'll let you know how it goes. I just got my first one because it was up here in Dewey. So I bought it for $50 just to see what it looks like. So I'll let you know how it goes. And then expireds, right? All of you guys have access to MLS to be pulling expireds. Especially if you're farming, I would definitely be looking at expireds, because, you know, if they failed with that other agent, you're farming, there's a good opportunity that you should be able to step in and work that expired. Okay. Expireds are, you definitely got to be mentally tough with expireds, because they're angry. Their house was on the market for X period of time. It failed to sell. There was probably no communication, no feedback. And the longer a listing sits, the less interaction that you have with that seller in most cases, right? So they're upset that their home didn't sell. So you have to not be attached to their reaction towards you, and you know, be mentally tough in that. So we've got, like I said, we have a whole class on expireds.
Question
Yes, sir.
on expireds. Is it better to go with something that just went off, or is it maybe a little easier if they've sat
Yeah.
for three to 6 months?
So I had a guy coach that he would go back 3 to 5 years, and he was
Hmm.
really successful with expireds going back 3 to 5 years, because
Wow.
they weren't angry
Yeah,
anymore.
they got
and
over the
yeah,
initial
yeah,
emotions.
yeah. So they really do get flooded the first couple weeks. And so unless you're, you know, it is a good idea to wait a little bit, I think, anyway, so they're not so angry and they're not getting flooded. So even if you waited a month, you know, a couple weeks, but you certainly could go back a couple years, you know, and see, you know, our market's been pretty robust. So there hasn't been a lot of expireds, but there still are, because homes fail to sell for various reasons. You could even check canceled status, Scott. Someone who canceled, especially with that company, I won't name any names, but we all know who they are. They have the largest cancellation of any company in the state. And so those people failed to sell in their period of time, so they might still have a need to sell. Okay. So who to call first? So identify a list of 10 people from your personal contacts. KV Core has given this to you guys, right? It's already set up and come into your email every single day. So, which is awesome, because we don't even have to think about it, right? We just got 10 people from there that we can pick up the phone and call. Okay. And then identify and list 5 that you'll be prospecting for new business. Okay. And I think, you know, for all of you on this call, just focus in on this, on the 10, right? Momentum teaches us that for 5 contacts, or every contact is worth $25,000. And so even if, you know, 5 of these people, and then also teaches us that the average person will know 5 people who will make a move in the next 12 months. So Kim, if you contacted 10 people a day, every person knows 5 people are going to make a move in the next 12 months. That's huge. That's huge, right? And we're only looking for our small slice of the pie, right? And so just make it a goal to contact the people that KV Core spoon feeds it to you. Just pick up the phone and call those people. And if you're not comfortable, send a text. Hey, thinking about you, Sandra. Hope everything's going well. Just wanted to reach out and say hello. I sent out a bunch of Mother's Day texts, right? Got good interactions with that. We've got what's coming up. Father's Day's coming up, and then, you know, we got 4th of July. You got all kinds of things. School's out this week. So could you talk to people about what are you doing for summer vacation? You know, what camps you're putting the kids in? You know, there's a lot of things that we can talk to people about, and it doesn't have to be about real estate. And the conversation will naturally go to how's it going? What's going on with the market? I had that conversation with the finance guy with the new car I'm getting, right? Who's talking to me about the interest rates and what's happened in the real estate market. He's like, you got a card? I need your card. All right. So we just never know. Those conversations lead to opportunities. So know your scripts. So the fear of what to say does not stop you from picking up the phone. So start by using scripts that other people have used to have success. A real simple one is just Ford: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. We naturally do the script as it is, right? How's the family? What's going on with work? What are you doing this summer? And if you know, if their summer dream is to go to Greece, well, let's talk then about that. Okay. So that's the easiest script that we all naturally do. You came off mute, Scott. You got something?
I had a thought, but I lost it. So it's all good.
Okay. Well,
If it
hopefully it'll
comes
come back.
I'll let you know.
Hate when that happens.
It's happening more and more.
Yeah. So if you want to record yourself on the phone, I personally think this idea is horrible. I don't want to listen to myself on the phone. But if you want to level up and listen to yourself and critique yourself, you certainly could. Ask the right questions. Go a little bit deeper, right? We should always probe. Ask open-ended questions so that we get more information. One of my favorite scripts too is just the word "oh." Because I can say "oh" in all kinds of ways, right? Oh, oh, oh. Right? And it solicits feedback from that. Okay. Tell me more about that. That's another one. Tell me more about that. I want something with a big yard. Tell me more about that. I worked with a lady years ago that she was moving here from another state. She wanted a big backyard. Well, in my mind, big backyard was half acre. Well, she lived in a postage stamp. And so something, a 10,000 square foot lot was perfectly fine. That was big to her. Right. And so ask the right questions, go 3 deep with it. Tell me more about that. Tell me about the last time that you bought or sold a home. Right? You can learn a lot from that question. Okay. Find common ground, find ways to connect with people. When the guy that sold me the car, I was wearing my hat from Hawaii and had the chicken on it. And he was like, "Oh, have you been to Hawaii recently?" And I was like, "Wow, how do you know that?" And I was like, "Oh, shoot, I'm wearing the hat." Right. So he recognized that. And so we were able to talk about which island have you been to, so we were able to kind of create a bond. Right. And so find common ground. If you see something that they're wearing, their shirt, their car, something, right. Find a way to connect with people. Okay. As Rose does, try to be their best friend as soon as you possibly can. And then role play. We got to practice our scripts and dialogues. I know that that's not necessarily comfortable, but you guys look on Zoom here, find somebody that you can have an accountability with. Scott, you're mentoring with Jim, role play with Jim. Ask him to role play that. How would you handle this scenario? Jim's been around a long time, so practice our role play and reading the scripts and dialogues. You can't overcome objections if you don't know what to say. And the best way to know what to say is to practice. Okay. And then make the scripts yours. We don't want to change the wording, but once you internalize them, now they become you. And just like if you watch a really great movie and that actor that's playing the part, like some of these actors, they do, what is it called when they become the character, right? The methodology, I think is what it's called. They become the character, right? So if they're a homeless person, like they go be homeless, right? Or they get right into the character and they stay in character the whole time. So we can mold those scripts so that they sound like you and they don't sound like somebody else that wrote them. Okay. All right, so what to say? So we want to personalize. So fit the contact into your own dialogue so it sounds like you. You want to memorize it, know it, right? So be the subject matter. So that if you can roll, like if a script just rolls off your tongue, you want to build your confidence, right? And you don't have that deer in the headlight moment, but it also makes you sound just really freaking professional. I did Toastmasters for years because when I decided I wanted to teach and speak professionally, I had terrible stage fright. I would talk super fast. I still do talk probably too fast. And so I went and I joined Toastmasters. And the one thing that I loved the most was the impromptu speaking. So at the beginning of the Toastmaster meeting, that you have the Toastmaster and you have to use the word of the day, and they would ask a question. They'd present a scenario, they'd ask a question, and then they would call on you. And you wouldn't know who they were going to call on. They would just be like, they'd say the question and then they go, "Scott." So you have to get up there and you could either answer the question or you could go off on whatever you want to say, but you had to use the word of the day. And for me, that was my favorite part because it taught me, one, it confirmed the benefit of knowing scripts and dialogues, because when someone, a buyer or seller, asks you a question, you know, it throws you off if you don't have a comeback. And so that to me was really helpful. And then having to fit the word of the day in there just made it a little bit more of a challenge. So we want to memorize those things, right? Memorize your scripts and dialogues, be the expert, go study the river real estate, know what those things are, internalize it, right? So now it becomes a part of your values and your expertise at all times, and then customize it. So now we can customize it to deliver it to different audiences. And what do I mean by that? I might say something, same message, but the way I deliver it to a D personality who's very strong is going to be different than how I might say it to someone who's a high S, right? I'm going to be softer, kinder, slower, gentler with the S than I would be with the very strong D. And so we want to adapt it based on the audience, right? We want to mirror that. Good salespeople are chameleons, right? They can mirror the other person and it become them, so that, and you guys have all experienced that. I can tell immediately when I meet someone who's a Libra, because I'm a Libra, I'm like friends with them right away. And I'm like, let me guess, you're a Libra. And I'm never wrong, never wrong. The other side with the personalities too, is that I'm a high I. So if they're a high I, we can tend to, get caught up in that being high eyes, right? So we got to be mindful of that too, so that we deliver the message and we stay professional in that. All right, so what you consistently do determines what you ultimately become. So we have choices every day, right? We have choices. We can take an action, right? And those actions build our habits, which then builds our character, which leads to our destiny. And then ultimately, what's our legacy? What are we leaving behind? Okay. So who do we want to become? So if your willingness and ability must match your expectation, if you're unable to efficiently implement the strategies necessary to achieve your goals around phone prospecting, you must seek out training. Right? We got to keep practicing. And hold on a second. I have a dog that needs to go out, so I will be right back. Sorry, guys. Okay, hurry up. Okay, sorry about that. Mother Nature's calling for her. So, so one of the things that Verl talked about when he was here last month was, experiences, right? When we don't have an experience to something, then it's hard for us to believe, right, that I can have that if I don't have the experience. And so you got to lean in on other people's experiences until you can create your own. So every day we have choices, right? Every day we have a choice when we get out of bed of what we're going to do with that day. And so we have to choose wisely, right? Another thing in this book is he talks about the first scroll is that, where is the first scroll? Today I begin a new life, right? So that's the first scroll. And so every day he talks about that every hour that you waste, you don't get back, right? Time is our only commodity. And so we have choices, right? What's our choice every day when we get out of bed? All right, so systems and tools. So let's take some action. So practice the past client script, which is in your guys' material, okay? We're not going to obviously do that on Zoom right now. So I'm going to trust that you will do it on your own afterwards when you look at the materials. So practice that script for past clients. And again, Ford, family, occupation, recreation tool, recreation dreams. So systems and tools. So creating massive accountability. We'll dive into this more too in future classes, but having scripts, your call scripts. So the most basic resource for home prospecting, build your confidence, practice the scripts, make them your own, okay? Voicemail plan. So this is an opportunity to break the ice with low stress, right? There are tools out there that you guys can go right to voicemail. What is that called? What is it called? Does anybody know that it's a phone number you call and you enter the phone number and it goes right to voicemail? I forget what it's called right now. Those are between 8 and 14 seconds. Okay. And then those could possibly turn into, taking a cold call, turning it into a warm call. There is robo dialers out there. There's Mojo Dialer and I think Vulcan. So if you wanted to, think about doing like that high type of cold calling where it literally is just dialing up, it's teeing up 100 numbers at a time. and just keeps calling until someone picks up. It's not for everyone, you guys. And it's not for everyone. It's definitely a niche type of cold calling. You could buy those services, but again, don't buy them unless that's something you're really going to commit to doing, because I don't want you spending money on something that you're not going to actually do. Okay. And it's not for everyone. Phone. So again, there's Red X out there, Vulcan, even VoicePad. We have VoicePad within the office. So if you're sitting someone's open house and it's not your listing, ask for the VoicePad leads, because those are good leads that they've raised their hand and inquired about that listing. And if you're sitting in open house, you could say, hey, Sandra, you called about 123 Elm Street. I don't know if you're still in the market to buy a home, but I'm going to be there tomorrow from 1 to 4 sitting it open. Come on by. I actually did this with a lead, Jim and what was her name? Anyway, doesn't matter. Carrie. So they had called off one of our listings. I was sitting it open. They came. I ended up selling their house in Peoria, sold them a house in Glendale, another house in Glendale, and then that house we sold when they relocated to go back east, and I referred them to an agent. All from one call from an ad that came off of a VoicePad type technology, and I invited them to an open house. So those leads are good. So if you're sitting someone else's open house, ask for the VoicePad leads, okay? And invite those people. Know the law. So when you're cold calling, you definitely got to know the law, know about do not call rules and when you should call, times, all that stuff, okay? Last thing you want to do is get hit with a fine. But if you buy something from like Red X, for example, they're scrubbing that data for you, so you know who's on the do not call list, okay? All right, so again, we're not going to role play. So wrapping up here. So where do we start? So mindset, right? Having the right mindset, checking our thoughts, checking what we're saying to ourselves. So we got to think in unlimited terms. Whatever your goal is, Verl talked about this, cross through it and double it. I have a fairly new coaching client, and they're broker owners in Pennsylvania. And they did a small office, handful of agents. They set a goal to list 14 houses in a month, and they listed 16, which was super exciting for them. A couple of them were rentals, but that's okay. And I said, what are we going to do next month? She goes, I don't know. And I said, let's double it. She was like, kind of taken back. I'm like, you can do it. If you did 16, why can't you double it? Right. And so thoughts matter, right? Thinking in unlimited terms. And here's the thing, you guys, Nate talks about this in the book. When we wrote the book, is his Roger Bannister moment. And so the first time he went to a CRS, the very first CRS celebration conference, there was agents, they said, look for the agents with the blue dots, because those are the agents that are selling 100+ homes a year. And he was blown away by that, because no one in our market was selling, at least, at that time, was selling 100 homes a year. And so that became his obsession, was if someone else can do that, so can I. And so if you think about Roger Bannister, the first guy to break or set a record for was it a mile run or something? I'm not real good with my memory on that. But since then, how many millions of people have gone on to break that record and set new records, right? I mean, not millions, but lots of people have gone on to set new records, and all because one guy started it. And we base our goals on what we've done in the past, right? But why not say, can I do more? Is there more? Is there more possibility here? What if? Okay. One of my favorite books is Jen Sincero's called she's got 2 books that are my favorites. One's called You Are a Badass, and then one's called You Are a Badass at Making Money. And she talks about, she really drills into our thoughts and our money mantras. It's a fantastic book. I recommend it, highly recommend both of them to you guys. I've read the money book 4 or 5 times. It's my go-to, and I will probably read it again at some point in the future. But she talks about identifying what your money mantras are, right? Because if you come into this business, and Scott, you want to be $1 million GCI producer, but you think money is the root of all evil, it's incongruent. You can't go out and attract that money coming into your life if you think money is bad, right? And so she dives into that. It's a really great book. So I would highly recommend it. You Are a Badass at Making Money. It's got a green cover. Get both Audible and the paperback, because there are assignments at the end of each chapter that are very, very valuable to do. But Audible is hilarious because she reads it, she narrates it, and she's a stitch. She's so funny. So I recommend
Sarah,
both of those. Yes.
What was that again, the title?
So there's 2. There's one just called You Are a Badass. It's got a yellow cover, Jen Sincero. And then the second one is You Are a Badass at Making Money, and it's got a green cover.
There was a book you mentioned earlier. You actually mentioned a couple, but one of them was Augmentino's book. But the other one, do you remember what it was?
It was the guy that summited the mountain, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Okay, I'll get it. It's on my bookshelf in the other room, so I'll get it for you guys and let you know the name. Can't remember his name. Well, if I have time before we're done, I'll just run in there and get it before you guys are on Zoom. So anyway, checking your thoughts, right? So again, if we have bad money mantras, it's going to be impossible for us to attract that. Okay. So thinking in unlimited terms, and then identify what's the purpose of the call, right? What's your role in the call? The role is to add value. So Kim, we talked about that, not feeling like you're bugging people. Well, don't bug them. Be of value, right? Give them something that helps them on their journey of either selling their home or buying their home. Okay. I was texting with I used to do Valley Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So my little was texting me yesterday. She was checking in on me to see how I'm doing. And the conversation eventually went to real estate. And she's like, we're in the very early stages. Da, 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 da. I said, well, you should talk to my loan officer and she'll help you. And she was like, well, is it too soon? I'm like, no, it's not too soon. So I hooked her up. She's going to have a conversation. And, I don't know if she's really ready at this moment. It might be a year or two, but it still was a conversation to get her started, right? To have value, to say, hey, go talk to her. Even if we're just in the beginning stages, it's okay. She's going to help you, right? So always have a call to know who you're going to call. You guys have heard me say this before. When you get out of bed in the morning, you shouldn't wonder who needs your services today. Okay. And then I can't hammer this enough. Role play, practice. Okay. And then knowing how to have your systems and tools. We're going to dive into a little bit more of that, of what those systems and tools are. So that's what I have for you. Let me go grab that book for you guys right now. And I got somebody in the chat. What do we got in the chat?
It was the voicemail number. So if you dial *86 with Verizon, it'll take you into your voicemail and then follow the prompts. It will take you to the mail drops. You record a message and, it sends it into the person's voicemail.
Cool. I didn't know that. I'm going to write that down. Hashtag. Yeah. Are you an Android or Apple?
It doesn't matter. It's it's the Verizon number.
Huh.
Yeah, no need to pay for services.
No kidding. Let me go grab that book for you guys. Hold on a second. You grab this off my shelf. Maybe. All right. I can picture him in my head. I just couldn't remember his name. All right. So the book is called No Excuses. And his name is Kyle Maynard, Maynard.
You said No Excuses?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, he was born with no arms and no legs. So it's his true story of how he became a champion in wrestling and in life. So that's, you can't see it, but No Excuses, Kyle Maynard. So I'll give you guys a couple different books, Og Mandino, Jen Sincero, some of my favorite go-tos. So any questions, comments, any ahas from today? No, you guys are all quiet. Who's going to go prospect today?
I am.
Good. I love it. Awesome. Hi, Colleen. You're in witness protection, but good to see you. Good to have you here. So I'll send you the class materials when we're done. Okay, so let's see. What do we got? Tomorrow, Alex is doing a bunch of KV Core in person at the office. So same format of beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Of course, you're welcome to go camp out for the full 3 hours if you want to and dive into that. And then Thursday, we don't have anything on the calendar because of the holiday coming up. And usually you guys are checked out on me. So we don't have anything Thursday. But then June 1st is our office meeting. So we've got that coming up. I can't believe it's already June. And next week, we'll dive into part 2 of this on Tuesday. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you need anything, reach out. Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
You guys are very welcome.
Thanks,
Very
Sarah.
welcome. Have a great day. I'll see you again soon. Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye.